Hey everybody, it's Leonie here from Wcki and welcome back to our Sloppy Joe jersey. I have now reached my 41 centimeters as specified on the size that I'm currently using for my pattern. Now if you look at your piece that you've been knitting, this will be the side for our knit stitch, and that is what it will look like on the side where we've got our purl stitches. Now, my pattern said I had to knit for 41 centimeters. I have now measured it from here all the way up to this point here, and I have 41 centimeters. I can now carry on with my pattern where we're going to start casting off stitches for our armhole shaping. Now, before we carry on, if you read your pattern, you will see that the front and the back is made exactly the same up to a point. So, in order for you to get your front and your back panels at absolutely the equal length, you can either stick to your centimeters of 41 centimeters, like in my case now, from the bottom up to where we are now, where we're going to do casting off, or you can count the rows. I like to count the rows because then I know I've got exactly the same number of rows for the back panel as what I have for the front panel, because sometimes I tend to misplace my measuring tape, but don't tell everybody now. And I can't find it and I need to measure, so I count the rows, and then I know that I need to knit that amount of rows for the front panel, because it is from the beginning at your single rib here up to where we shaped for the armholes. Front and back panels are exactly the same. So let me show you how to count rows. I'm doing it on the flip side, so in other words on the purl side that we've knit. It is just easier to count the rows. If you want to be adventurous, you can always count these little itty bitty things here. But I find it easier to count my rows on the purl side, on the flip side. So each time I see a little bump, I count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Don't worry, I'm not going to count all the way to the top. But that is how you will go ahead and count your rows. Now, can you see that my edges are curling up? This irritates me. So at some point, I'm going to show you on one of the next projects how to prevent this from happening as well. But for this jersey, my Sloppy Joe, I will just let it slide, but I will show you at a later point how we can get this to lie slightly flat, because the challenge is with this is that when you need to sew them up now, it gets quite, how can I say, challenging. It's not difficult, it's just, it would have been nice if it was lying down flat, but I'll show you in future videos how we get this to lie flat. But for now, if you look at your pattern, if you've got that handy, we have done our work. We've continued straight and stocking stitch until my work measures, in my case 41 centimeters from the beginning, and I've ended with a wrong side row. And remember, our wrong side row will be our purl row, so that means I have finished my purl row. So if I start now, I'll be on the, oops, where's my yarn? Here we go. I'll be on the side where I've got to start with a knit row. But now we're going to do some shaping, and you will see that from your pattern we are here now. So we've ended with a wrong side row. Now we're going to shape raglan. Now, very important, this is only, the next 2 rows is only for sizes, for the second size up to the 13th size. Now let's go back to the top, and there's our sizes. So this is only from the second size. So only if you are knitting something for a size, for a bust of 62 up to the bigger size, are you going to do this next step. So if you are knitting one for the 57 centimeter bust, you will not do this. You will only start continuing there where it says all sizes. But now for, if you are in between these 2 sizes, we are now going to do the following 2 rows. Now it says cast off. Can you see here? There's a little dash, and then brackets, and then 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, and so on. That little dash is actually for the first size that it's now skipping, because remember, as you can see here at the top, let me point with my needle there, maybe that's better. There at the top, that was size number 1. We had to cast on 57 stitches, size 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So now you're going to do exactly the same here. You're going to see which size you're working with. I'm working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm working with the 8th size. So I am now going to have a look here for my 8th stitch. That needle's actually worse than my finger. For my 8th size, now remember that is 1, and then it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 3 stitches. I'm going to have to cast off 3 stitches at the beginning of the next 2 rows. And when I'm done, it will then show you I started off with 89, so I'm going to have 83 stitches when I'm done, because I'm going to take off 3 stitches at the beginning of the next 2 rows. Now when they say cast off, let me show you what you will do. Let me just line everything up here, and I haven't found shorter knitting needles yet, so hopefully I don't bash over the camera here. But in order for you to cast off, you're going to knit as if you are doing a normal row. So that's 1, and you're going to have to knit a second stitch. Oh, sorry, I'm splitting my wool. There we go. And we knit a second stitch. Now, to cast off, I'm then going to take that first stitch that I've done a knit on, and I'm going to pull it over. Now let's do, there we go. So now I've just cast off 1 stitch. Now let's do another stitch. So you knit the next stitch, and then you pull the stitch over, and now I've cast off 2 stitches. And my sizing says I've got to take off 3 stitches. So then you drag it over, and there is your 3 stitches that you've now done a cast off on. Now I'm going to complete this row as per normal, because the pattern says at the beginning of the next 2 rows. Let's have a look. Cast off the required amount of stitches at the beginning of the next 2 rows. So you're going to do row 1, and on the flip side, when you do the pull row, you will do the exact same amount of stitches that you will cast off then. And once you've done those 2 rows, I'll meet you back here to show you the all sizes next row. I'll see you now. I'm back. I haven't done my second row cast off yet. As you can see, there's my first one that I've just done. I just need to show you that when you are on the flip side or on the pull side, you can do your cast off either exactly the same as you've done for the knit row. So in other words, even on this side, you can just knit the stitches as per normal, or you can do it pull wise. So what you will then do, let me just get it in here. I just don't want my needles to knock over the camera. So you'll do a normal pull stitch. So I've got to work around the camera here, and my needles are very long. That's it. And then you just slip the needle to the front like that, and then you will just pull the stitch over as you would have done for a knit row, but now we're just going to do it for a pull. So exactly the same way, slip the stitches over, bring the wool back, and then pull the next stitch, move the yarn out the way, and so I pulled my stitch too tight now. There we go. That is now my second stitch, and you will do the same then for all your stitches. You can do it this way as well. So this is now casting off pull wise. So in other words, you pull the stitch, move the yarn out the way, and pull the stitch over. And now you just complete the yarn as per usual. Now I'm going to see you at the end of this row. And there we have it. I've done my 3 stitch cast off on both sides. So at the beginning of my 2 rows, I've done my 3 stitch cast off for my pattern. Now you would have either, depending on the size that you were making, you might have taken off 6 or 7 stitches or 9 or 2, but I had to do my 3 stitch cast off, and I've counted my stitches and I now have 83 stitches left on my needle. Now we get to the section where it says all sizes. We're going to do knit 1, then we're going to do SKPO. Foreign language, let's have a look. SKPO, remember your abbreviations are always on your pattern, but SKPO stands for slip 1, knit 1, and then pass the slip stitch over. So you slip the first one, you knit the second stitch, and then the first stitch that you slipped, you're going to pull that over. Basically like we've done a cast off now, but I'm going to show you. Then the sentence says, you're going to knit to the last 3 stitches, then you're going to knit 2 together and knit 1. And you should then have your required number of stitches left. I'm going to show you now how that's done. The next row will be a purl row. So you're just going to do a normal purl row with no casting off, with no slip stitches that needs to be pulled over, passed over, nothing, just a normal purl row. Then it says repeat these last 2 rows so many times more. Now in my case, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got to do it for 24 times. Now what I do when I've got a bunch of counting that I need to do like this, and especially with all the interruptions that we have, you know, you might be sitting knitting in front of the television, or you've got talking going on around you. What I like to do is I've always got a piece of paper with me. I now have to do this for 24 times. I said, hey, yes, I'm only going to do the following. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to do my 24 markings on my page. Every time that I have decreased, I'm just going to take it out. So that one is done, that one is done. Oh, my pen is not writing. That one is done, that one is done. That is how I keep track of how many more I would like to do, or how many more I need to do. The other thing is, of course, just put the cap back there. The other thing is, it does say to you, you're going to do it for so many times more, and once you've done it, you will have this amount of stitches left. So that is the alternative. You can either count them on a sheet of paper like I've just shown you, or you are just going to do a knit row where you are going to decrease your stitches plus a purl row, and know that every time you get to a right side facing row or your knit row, you're going to have to decrease your stitches. So you can either just do it until you have that amount of stitches or the required amount of stitches on your needle, or you can count, I've done it once, I've done it twice, I've done it 3 times. One thing I would like to change for now on this pattern, can you see it says here cast off all stitches for back neck? That means all the stitches that's remaining, once you've done this decrease here, you need to cast them off like we've done here. I need you to keep this on a needle. Maybe go get yourself some stitch holders. You buy stitch holders, and I forgot to take mine out now to show you. I do apologize. If you go to your craft shop or your wool shop and ask them you would like some stitch holders, they will give you, it's a short needle, but that is where you're going to add the stitches on, and you could keep it safe until you need them. The reason why I want to do this, we're going to need these stitches when we do our neck. So when we have to knit the ribbing that goes around the neck, we're going to use those stitches. And to count and pick up the stitches again, it tends to make a bit of a hole. And because this is your first one, I don't want you to get discouraged when you see that. So please keep your stitches on a stitch holder. So do not cast off all stitches, but keep your last amount of stitches that you have here. Please keep it on a needle. And that is how easy it is to do your jersey. But first, before I end up this video, let me just show you how to do the knit one, slip one, knit one, pass, slip stitch over. The abbreviation looks worse than what it actually is. So let's go. I'm going to start with A. So I've knit one. So we're just going to do a normal knit one like that. Then it says SK, oh sorry, I'm off camera. Then it says SKPO, slip one, knit one, pull or pass stitch over. So here we go. So we slip one. So all you're going to do, you're going to put your needle in like that and just move it across to the next needle or your right side needle. That was slip one. Then we're going to do knit one. As easy as that. And then it says pass your slip stitch over. That's a stitch that we slipped, so we're just going to pass it over. And I need to find shorter needles. And you pass your slip stitch over, and that's how you do it. And then you're going to knit the rest of the row. And when you get to the end, oh, and I split my wool there, I'll fix it up now. When you get to the end, it says you're going to knit to your last 3 stitches, and then you're going to knit 2 together and knit 1. So how do we knit 2 together? Easy. Instead of putting the needle in like that, we're going to put it in like that, because we have to knit the 2 stitches together. So you'll put it in like that and just knit it as normally. So you've now taken 2 stitches and made it into 1 stitch. I need to fix up my stitch that I split there, so I'm not going to carry on now. So, and that, everybody, is how we do our knit one, slip, our SKPO, slip one, knit one, pass, slip stitch over, and knit 2 together. So you're going to do this now repeat your last 2 rows for that amount of times until you have your required number of stitches. Again, these stitches will tie back to the sizing that you use. So me, size number 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At the end of it, I'm going to have 33 stitches, which I'm going to slip onto a stitch holder. I'm not going to do a full cast off. I'll see you when I get here. Have fun!